Well, let's cut right to the chase. What we're really talking about today is whether or not we believe in secondary treatment. It's as simple as that. Either we believe in it or we don't. Now, the Department of Fisheries and Oceans has said that we need to implement secondary treatment. They've said that we're currently in breach of the regulations. They've told us in no uncertain terms, over and over again, that we've got to bring in secondary treatment within a reasonable time frame. And 2011 or 2018 or 20 whenever after 18 is not a reasonable time frame. There have already been criminal charges laid under the Fisheries Act against the GBRD on at least 2 occasions. And the only reason the charges didn't proceed is because the Crown took them over and then stayed them. Now, I have a letter here from the Sierra Legal Defense Fund. It's a letter from their lawyer. He writes to the GBRD in March of this year. He's read the Department of Fisheries and Oceans letter to the GBRD, which I referenced earlier today. He's read the meaningless amendments that we're going to approve today. And he says, he being Tim Howard, the lawyer acting for Sierra Legal Defense, he says, by failing to address long-standing problems in the facilities identified above, the GVRD are exposing themselves to potential liability under the Fisheries Act. Now, either we believe here in Vancouver that we can do as well as most of the other major cities in North America, bring in secondary treatment, or we don't. The amendments before us today are really meaningless. They don't specify a date. They don't even say that we will bring in secondary treatment. If you read the amendment, all it says is that we'll consider bringing it in when the time is right. That's basically what the amendments say. So I'm for secondary treatment, and I'm opposed to the motion today.
Councillor Price, you're the last speaker. I'm not going to entertain any more speakers on this.
Well, I got to agree to this. I love the irony. First of all, New York City, Rand Corporation. New York City is protecting its system using, quote, natural filtration for most of the Catskill and Delaware watersheds. The EPA website. Let's see. It gave New York its determination granting filtration avoidance to New York City for the Catskill and Delaware systems. And this one I like in particular. It's from the Sierra Club website. New York City's drinking water is threatened by pollution from overdevelopment in upstate watersheds, and by a plan to build a costly and unnecessary filtration plant here in New York City. So here's the Sierra Club, fighting a filtration plant. And for good reason, because they can do it through natural systems in their watersheds that that city had the foresight to get, to protect, and to maintain. You want to argue against the Sierra Club? Look, sure, of course, GBRD is in favor of secondary treatment. How much did we spend? 800 million for Anasis?
675 was one bill, yeah. 675 million, I remember.
It's not a question of arrogance or avoidance. It's what you can afford within a reasonable time frame, and reasonable people will debate what reasonable means. But if there's this sense of blackmail, that if you don't spend up how many hundreds of millions of dollars you want, without ever having to take accountability for how you're going to get the money and for what you are trading off, tell us what you're not going to do, what goes into second place, what won't be afforded, what other environmental goal you can achieve, then you're really not being reasonable.
Okay, thank you. No, you got 30 seconds.
I got 30 seconds. I just want to point out, we looked at the long-range things of what we had to do, and because there was such a huge amount of money involved, we actually capped our capital expenditures at $65 million a year. at the GVRD. That cap will have to go out the window with regard to filtration now. The problems with fisheries is not so much the sewage treatment plants, it's more the CSO, the combined sewer thing. And in fact, we feel that we are adequately providing, we're not killing fish with our sewage plants right at the moment. We monitor it on a daily basis, and I don't think there's any substance to what the fishery says as far as what is going on our 2-mile causeway out into the Pacific. It's the inner harbor in areas like that we have to concern ourselves with. And it's very easy for Councillor Bass to stand up and we got to spend this. It's only 76 million or 100 million. But stick around and find out what happens when people get their tax bill, when they look at the GVRD and they look at the cost of the GVRD and say, what the heck are we spending that for? You haven't been around long enough to understand the wrath of people when it comes to paying their taxes. Go downstairs and listen to some of them. Read some of the letters I get as far as their tax bill is concerned. I think that we have to do things in moderation. It's a matter of adjusting our budget actually to fit what we can honestly charge. I've always felt that when senior levels of government foist something on us, they should give us the wherewithal, in fact, to do what they want us to do. Go make your argument with them.
Okay, we're going to take a vote on this. Report is P2. A and B has been moved. All in favor? Contrary? It passed with Councillors Lewis and Bass contrary. Report P3, CD1 zoning, 1128 West Hastings.